Hello and welcome. Today we've got Tom Numbers and we'll be discussing about numerology. We'll be doing numbers on certain things, on latest updates as well and intel. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Telegram channel and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And I will also leave Tom Numbers links below as well, so you can follow him as well. Tom, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm great, Nick. How are you, buddy? It's great to see you again, man.
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm so excited. I'm hearing that 4 countries have now activated Nasara. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess there's different pieces to it, isn't there? I mean, I've been hearing that, for a while from different places. And I guess in terms of Jasara, things like furlough schemes and people's debt relief, I've heard our friend Tara by Janine, she mentioned on one of the episodes with myself and Bryce that she's had 2, maybe 3 credit cards completely wiped out. So there's pieces of it happening. I guess one of the things I look at is when I hear it, I kind of hear it synonymously with the RV, but I think they're all part of the same, pieces of the puzzle. But when I hear a date on the RV, I think the RV will probably know, unless they all go into, maybe different countries go at different times. I don't know how that will actually happen, but hey, I'm just enjoying the show, waiting for it, for the big booms and waiting for everything to happen. So there's something you talking about that, Nick. There's something that Elon Musk tweeted. I got it on one of our groups today, and he tweeted it yesterday, I believe. Are we we're the 30th today or the 29th? We're the 30th, aren't we?
30th, yeah.
30th. So he tweeted it yesterday, and it's interesting. So he basically did a tweet, and he said, "Sonic boom incoming." Now, I looked at this, and this ties into what you just mentioned. So the word sonic, S-O-N-I-C, comes to 60. So in simple gematria, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4. For the new listeners, you can add up a word, get the numerical value of the letters in the word, and you come up with a value. So the word sonic comes to 60, which comes to diamond, comes to orange. If you do boom, that comes to 45. And 45 comes to effect, but it also comes to spade. So sonic boom is diamond, spade, and they're 2 of the suits in the deck of cards. You've got hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. So you've got diamond and spade. And spade is the most powerful spiritual one of all, and 45 makes you think of 45th President Trump, etc. If you add those together, sonic boom, or 60 plus 45, diamond plus spade, comes to 105. That comes to a value that equals giant voice. We've heard for a while that giant voice is perhaps the name of one of the military broadcast systems. And there's been a few of those things kind of popping up. Some people getting messages in England saying we're going to test a broadcast system. So they're kind of prepping people's psyche for it. But then this is really interesting. So the word incoming, when you spell it out and add up the numbers, comes to 84. 84 comes to Arizona. So if you see that code there, Nick, sonic boom incoming, giant voice Arizona, we're waiting to hear the results from Arizona. President Trump spoke at the weekend, and he said, very, very soon, we're going to hear about the audits and about Arizona, etc. Can we say that word?
Just say, not really. No, we're not allowed to say that word. We can say recounts.
Recounts, okay.
Well,
so the
recounts. We can say the checks. We can go really off.
The checks, okay. The balance of the checks. So we're waiting for the checks to come from Arizona, and it's interesting how he's done that. But also, this is another thing that was pointed out in the message I got. You got this whole thing with the SEC and the Ripple case. In Back to the Future, you've got the ripple effect. It seems like it changes time, changes the landscape, the fabric of reality for everybody and everything. But if you do the numbers on this, Ripple comes to 76, comes to Thomas, Case comes to 28, comes to Bank. Add those together, it comes to 104. 104 comes to Starlink, as in the system with Elon, the satellite system that is, from our understanding now, it's being used by the White Hat, and Elon's doing exactly what he needs to with President Trump and the team. And it also comes to Jerusalem. And settled comes to 85, which comes to silver comes to storm, comes to blackout, comes to matrix. Again, you add those together, it comes to 189, which comes to sonic boom incoming and also ripple case settled. So whoever produced that, shout out to them on Twitter for coming up with that. Now, also, I like to look at things in what's happening kind of day to day, and I like to look at the numbers. Now, are you a football fan, Nick?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I'll be very brief on this.
Sorry,
then.
guys.
That's okay. Anyway, some will know that the Euros are taking place. It's the European Championships for all the national teams in Europe playing each other. And Euros, interesting enough, comes to 78, which is Kennedy. So think on that. But yesterday, England played Germany. Okay. England comes to 57, which is Tesla. Germany comes to 83, which is Election, which is also Mount, Prayer, Faithful, etc. Caviezel, interesting enough, the great actor Jim Caviezel and The Sound of Freedom. But some interesting things happened there. There's a guy that he scored the first 3 goals in all the previous games for England, and his name's Raheem Sterling. The word sterling comes to 104, which comes to Starlink, which comes to Jerusalem. And you got that phrase, everybody knows, sterling silver, sterling silver. And we've got this whole thing with the revaluation, and when silver and gold get revalued, everything is gold backed and silver backed perhaps, but gold backed for sure. Anyway, he scored the first goal, but he scored it at a place called Wembley. So Wembley is the stadium in the northwest of London. He's from the Wembley area. Wembley itself comes to 85, which comes to silver. So you had the same code. Sterling scored. So Sterling plus Wembley again comes to this value of 189. Jack Grealish was the player, one of the players who contributed in lead up to that goal, and he also set up Harry Kane. Jack Grealish comes to 104, which comes to Starlink, which comes to Jerusalem, and which comes to Sterling. So you can see all these codes. So this is what I see when I see things in, I see the films, I see the movies, I see the newspaper headlines, I see everything in the community, and they all dovetail into one great kind of fulcrum of truth when you can see the numbers, etc. So it's like, Sterling is 104, is Starlink. Starlink is Elon Musk. Elon Musk has just put that tweet out. And all 3 of those things, all 3 of those values all add up together. So sonic boom incoming, ripple case settled, Sterling plus Wembley, they all come to 189. And interestingly enough, Nick, I like this, 189 comes to February 15th, which is my birthday. So February is 96, Starship, Atlantis, and 93, 15th comes to Flotus. It comes to Bushnell, it comes to Kingship, it comes to Nazareth, comes to Hungarian, and you see some of the games being played out in the stadium out in Hungary, and they've got a full stadium with no sea restrictions. So the flu, no one is restricted out there. They've got a full stadium, so that's been kind of important to see on the map as well. So, and Budapest, where the capital is 88, which is Trump. So there's some nice, beautiful dovetails all over the place. So anyway, I thought that would be interesting for people to have a look at. But you might have some questions on that, or we can go into just discussing some intel. Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, so with those numbers that you've done, and you've interlinked all of those together, with the football and the Starlink and the Sonic, you said the Sonic Boom.
That's it. Sonic Boom. Yeah. Sonic Boom incoming. Yeah.
So now that you've calculated this, how does the picture, if you could paint us the picture of the visuals that you get that could be possibly happening coming very soon, what do you think?
Yeah. So I see with that, the first part, so Sonic Boom incoming, and then ripple case settled, what they're saying, and the person that created the tweet, they get all the credit for that, seems like they're saying that this SEC settlement has been settled behind the scenes. That's what they're saying. They're saying that it's settled, and they're saying that Elon has put that tweet out and is basically in simple gematria giving us the numbers and the code to reveal that the case has been settled. So when we're kind of waiting in the mainstream for it to come out, the same behind the scenes has actually been settled. And so Elon's obviously, a huge player and has millions and millions of followers. So people take notice of when he tweets. That's why lots of the anons will do the calculations on his tweets. So if that's the actual case, the numbers add up. So that's one possible value that the settlement is done. And also the beautiful thing about the giant voice, i.e., speak loudly with Arizona. So the recount looks like it's going to be coming in, and that confirms exactly what President Trump said. He said, very, very soon, very soon. How long very soon is, we don't know for sure, but very soon is very soon. And then you've got the reconfirmation with the footballers on the pitch scoring the goals and at the stadium they're at and all these things. And people are, that's just all coincidence. Like, well, once it, when you see it continually, then it either is or isn't for you. Depends on your focus, depends on your reality. And I'm a big believer in terms of Space Force being able to do little subtle things in the matrix, a little click here, a little flutter here, and reveal and do the things that are necessary for us to witness and for their objectives to be achieved. And if we've got the eyes and the ears and the heart to see it, then it all the better to us, And so that's what I'm seeing. So I'm believing what President Trump is saying, that it's coming out very soon. I'm seeing what Elon has tweeted. I'm seeing the results in the football. So I'm seeing, in terms of a date, I obviously don't know, but I'm seeing that, as with all of it, we're getting closer. And as each day goes, we're obviously getting closer to where we're going. So that's all I'm seeing. So might not give you an exact, pin the tail on the donkey date, but there's a number of sources in my own reality that I'm seeing in terms of the football, Elon, President Trump speaking, and all the other information that we have. That's what I'm seeing.
Right. So Russia is one of the 4 countries that has, I think, has rejected the Federal Reserve.
Okay.
So they've gone back to the gold, and I heard Iraq has wiped out all their debts.
Right.
This is what I heard.
Yeah.
So does that mean that they don't have to pay taxes anymore, income tax? If we get rid of the Fed, right, and we don't, and these countries have supposedly announced Nasara, and they don't have to. They've rejected the Federal Reserve in their country, and they now have their own monetary system, which is gold backed. Yes. Does that mean that they don't pay taxes or income tax to the Federal Reserve? Because what happens is that over here in the UK, we pay our taxes to HMRC. Okay. Her Majesty Inland Revenue, HMRC.
Revenue collections, is it? Or revenue collections, I think.
Customs and customs. Revenue and customs.
Customs, okay.
Why did I go blank? I don't know. So
because it's been dissolved, Nick. We don't need to own it anymore.
The thing it's just fizzling away,
Yeah, it's just dissolving into the matrix. Yeah,
exactly. So we pay our income tax to HMRC, which is our government, Her Majesty Revenue and Customs.
Yeah,
and then they pay that money to the Federal Reserve. So our governments around the world, where their citizens pay their income revenue, they pay that to their governments, and then their governments pay that back to the Fed, because the Fed prints money and they loan the money to the governments around the world. Okay. And then that's how we become in debt. Okay. And then they borrow the money from the Fed, and then we then have to pay that money back with interest, and that's why our taxes go up.
Yes.
So if they're saying, no, we're not accepting the Federal Reserve anymore, we are going back to the gold, and we're putting cryptocurrency, we're implementing cryptocurrency in our banks to replace the SWIFT system, because it's so valuable in its, convenience, in the, how fast it is to, within seconds to send money over, as opposed to waiting 5 working days. This is what adds value to the cryptocurrency. So, I want to know, or if someone out there can tell me, okay, or email me through my website and let me know, in those countries, if you still have to pay income tax. I really want to know that. And if you can give me that information, I will then share it on my platform to share the great news. Okay. And I was wondering, Tom, if you have any information on that.
It's a good question. I don't really have too much information, probably just the similar things that you've heard. So I've heard various things about, I haven't tried it, but I've heard, some, if you try and pay your taxes depending, I'm not sure if it's the VAT or if it's just your income tax, they're refusing it, or it's difficult to do so. So I've heard a few things about the taxes, etc., and I don't know firsthand if that's the case. One thing I do see in regards to Jassara and Nasara, behind the scenes, there's been this kind of soft rollout of it, things like furlough, different cases of people not, having their credit cards wiped out. Apparently, there's lots of people that throughout the world have had their mortgages wiped out, but that seems to be kind of a small percentage. It's not like kind of a huge tidal wave all over the globe. And in terms of the revaluation, I've heard different things, saying about Iraq, and we've always heard that Iraq will be the first to go, and then all these other countries. One thing I do remember in one of the films, Dirty Dancing, with Patrick Swayze, and he talks about following the twos in that film. But there's a piece in there, I think I've mentioned this before, but there's a piece right at the end of the film which is kind of disjointed from the rest of the film. And it's the owner of the resort that they're all kind of doing their dancing and having their, celebrations on. And the owner just comes out of nowhere and he says he feels like it's all ending. It feels like it's all ending. And it's all coming to an end. He says 22 countries in 3 days. Just feels like it's all ending. And that always stood out to me because it was a film that was re-released last summer and it was a Q film to go and watch. So I did a lot of numbers on it. But it seems to me that perhaps that could have a reference in regards to, is it government stepping down? Is it when one currency goes, within 3 days, there'll be a basket of 22 countries with their currencies that will revalue? I think there's something within that. When that happens, I don't know. We hear different reports. People say, Iraq's done this or this, and until we kind of hear and know for sure, I guess we're just waiting. But, the timer is ticking. And when we get to that point, I personally feel, and I could be wrong on this, I personally feel once the revaluation takes place, I feel that everybody will know. Maybe not. Maybe there's a way that they'll do it and people don't know. You hear about tiers and different things happening behind the scenes, etc. But I think in terms of something like the revaluation of all global currencies that President Trump has spoken about, because he said maybe 3+ years ago, he said, we're all going to be on a level playing field, and he's spoken about the RV when he joked about driving back to New York in a trailer with Melania.
Do you think it was a 1 year delta?
Say that, buddy.
Do you think that everything he was saying about that, at that time last year, maybe it was a 1 year delta? Because last year he said we're going to have a great Christmas, and listen to this, we didn't, because of what happened with the crime of the century. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So was he talking about this year? A bit like Q. I'm seeing characteristics here of that as well.
Yeah.
Of 17. So
yeah, I think you're right. There could be I'm not sure exactly when he said it. I think it was around this time. It might have been just over a year ago, or maybe we're coming up to when that is. That'd be interesting to look at actually about the. I think it's just happened. But then the other thing as well, you've got all these other calendars. You've got all these other calendars that are on the board. There's a lot of other calendars other than the one that we're in. So I think there's alters in regards to that as well. Also, President Trump said, Easter is our timeline. Easter, we were thinking maybe Easter that was just gone on, and he said that kind of a year ago. And then we got to Easter, and then we went through that. The interesting thing about that is the word Easter comes to 68, which also comes to the word July, and we're about to go into July. So perhaps that is a timeline. And last year, when the reference you just made about Christmas, you'll remember they did everything, and they were in the I think is at the Rose Garden at the White House, and everything looked like a summer Christmas. The way they did the display, it looked like Christmas trees, and it was the middle of the summer. So perhaps are we going to have because we didn't. You're right, we didn't have a Christmas. And that made me think the Christmas just gone. I thought of the George Michael film and the song Last Christmas. It's like, well, maybe that was literally the last Christmas. Maybe we're going to have a revamp on Christmas, and we're going to have this great celebration that we've all kind of missed out for the last 18 months. So that's a really good point, Nick. And I think, right, there are deltas, and figuring out when the deltas are and what deltas they latch onto is all part of the puzzle, all part of the game, all part of the purposes of the White Hats to keep us on our toes, but also keep and achieve their military objectives. That's what it is. And people go, oh well, but this bottom line is everybody just keep faith. And if it's the case, then it's the case. And if we have to wait another year, so be it. I hope we don't. But if we had to, we just get on with it, because what's the alternative? What's the alternative? If we'd have done the other timeline, we'd have probably been in a nuclear war by now if we were on Hillary's timeline. So just because people have got to be patient and wait and keep, working towards things, just hold the line, everybody. And that's an overused phrase, but I think it's probably the most appropriate. And if you know in your heart that these things are correct, then just continue. That's the message.
Absolutely. Well, it's very interesting. We'll just have to wait, like Trump's Mr. T said. That he's going to take back everything much sooner than we think. So if it's sooner than August or around August, like what Mike Lindell says, then we're definitely going to have a great Christmas, aren't we? And maybe last year we'll confirm that it was a 1 year Delta when he said that.
Exactly.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And you just brought something up there. So you said about Lindell saying it. Some have said, I've not heard Lynn Wood say it, but I've heard people say that Lynn Wood said it. But Steve Bannon said it. He said August 15th. I don't know if you've seen that clip, but he said the inauguration of President Trump. And I looked at that and I looked at the numbers. So August 15th, there's some really interesting things with that. And I mentioned this with one just the other day, but this ties into one when he spoke about April Fools, which was the 1st of April.
My brother's birthday.
So say again?
My brother's birthday.
Happy birthday to your brother, buddy. What's his name?
Sof. It's on April Fool's Day.
There you go. Excellent. So, but this is the beauty of it, and this is the deltas, and this is where the numbers and everything all ties in, and the theme, and that we've seen for the last year and a half. But so one spoke about that, and then Steve Bannon said August 15th, and maybe that's the case, and maybe it's not. It might lead us to something else. But the numbers are really interesting. So if you do August is 89, 15th is 93. So it's that number that we spoke about earlier, 93, which is. It's Flotus, it's Kingship, it's Nazareth, there's a few things. It's Bushnell, so that's why I remember that one. But August 15th, add them together, comes to 182. 182 comes to the 1st of April. So when one said that, he may not have actually been incorrect. And he said just the other day with myself and Bryce, the truth of that will come out in time. We'll see, whether he was or he wasn't on that. The other thing that's a beautiful thing about that is we just had President Trump's birthday. President Trump's birthday is June 14th. 14th is 132. Comes to Princess Diana, comes to furniture, comes to a few things. June is 50, which is Donald. Add those together, that comes to 182. Okay. Now going back to the football, you did see this because you sent me a funny meme on it. Remember Cristiano Ronaldo with the moving of the?
I did.
Right. There was a number of things with that, but this is what I saw from that. One of the things I saw, Cristiano Ronaldo had, and he actually played in Hungary. Hungary comes to 94, which is John. Hungarian comes to 93. 93 is 15th or 7th. Anyway, that being said, he moved 2 Coca-Cola bottles. Coca-Cola, when you do the numbers on it, comes to 53. One of the values for that is cyber. We've heard about cyber attacks. Anyway, he moves one, and he moves another one. So 53 plus 53 comes to 106, comes to Bank of England, comes to a network, comes to a few things. Anyway, then he moves water. So he gets water. So there's water. Water is 76, which is Ripple. If you add all those together, if you do 106 plus 76, that again comes to 182. 182 comes to the 1st of April. It comes to 15th of August. It comes to June 14th. August 15th, June 14th, the 1st of April. Coca-Cola plus water comes to 182. And it also comes to the inauguration. Inauguration is 149. That is 33. Add those together and it comes to 122. So what one said ages ago could well come to pass. We'll see what happens. But there's going to be a connection that those numbers that one said, whether it's the date or it's something else, is totally connected with President Trump coming back. And that's why we're getting things like, the global events of sports and films and music, showing these codes to the world to see as well. So,
we're seeing these things happening, and we have to take into consideration as well that when a high profile like Mike Lindell, who says Trump will, Mr. T will be back this summer or August, we have to have a small margin and discount a little bit for politics and for confusing the deep state as part of our Just a little bit. We have to take that into consideration.
That's it, just a little bit. And we don't have to hang our hat on it because we've seen that before. But when things do happen, we'll look back in hindsight as a beautiful thing, and we'll go, that's where that connected to that, to that, to that, to that. And the whole thing will add up. Absolutely. It will totally add up.
Well, Tom, it's been absolutely amazing having you on. I really enjoyed our wonderful conversation about, the numbers and the latest updates and the SARA and the currencies. Very exciting times. Things are moving on quite swiftly now. And we just hope that things will be accelerating much quicker at a much quicker rate. So thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the listeners before we end this interview?
I liked how you put the word in swiftly, Nick. Just no pun intended, swift,
All right. Oh, yeah. We're all synchronized with this, with this dimensions.
Exactly. There's also that video you were talking about with President Trump talking about, well, the bit with the summer and the Christmas and the summer thing in the garden with the White House with the what looked like Christmas trees, and they had the two Silverados. Right at the end of that speech, I think that's probably when they did the switch from the Swift and they did the transition. Right at the end of the speech, you see a bird fly backwards behind him, just on the video, like literally on time when he said it. But Swift, maybe you just said Swiftly, so I thought I'd bring that up. But no, it's been great fun again, Nick, and I'll see you soon. And all my followers on Site Club, go over and follow Nick on YouTube and on his channel, on his website, and also on his Telegram. And anyone that wants to know about how to do the numbers, they can check out the product below, Trumpology. And one little tip, but we can talk about this later, but AMC, get on AMC. AMC equals 17. Do you know what AMC is, Nick?
AMC stocks, I do, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll leave this in closing. You know Andy Murray, the tennis player?
Right.
He was on Wimbledon Monday, and he's got a T-shirt. Guess what is on his T-shirt?
AMC, I've seen it.
AMC.
Yeah.
AMC.
Yeah.
AMC, and it said Walmart, WOOLMARK. Walmart comes to 108, which comes to Jack Edward Kidd, our friend, comes to Twilight, and AMC is 17. So it's all these things. It's like little things in plain sight. If you know what you're looking at, you're like, oh, wow, there you go, So even though it wasn't AMC, the stock, another company, AMC, but it's there on television, British television. So AMC is going into people's minds. And the important thing for people to know is AMC equals 17, which equals Q. Wow. So if you feel like doing it, I'd go for it. But it's not financial advice, but
absolutely.
Anyway.
No, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Tom. And we'll speak to each other very soon. God bless you.
You too, buddy. Take care. Right. Thanks, Nick. Cheers, man. Bye. Bye.